Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of the Raised by Wolves podcast. I'm your host, Joe. I'm riding sort of solo today as far as the host side of things, but we have some very special guests in the town today that flew halfway across the country or almost all the way across the country to be with us today. And so, Heidi and Charles from the KAVA and Kettlebell podcast, which I'm a fan of. And thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
This is actually exciting. It's a little nerve-wracking because it's I know everybody well. I mean, I've gotten to know you. I realized today was the first time I'd actually talked to you today. But I've gotten to know Charles over the last couple months or so. But I just started listening to your guys' podcast because it was just I'm a big podcast listener, I'd listened to probably 10 different Kava or Kratom related podcasts.
Yeah.
And none of them, I don't know. I'm not knocking any of them because everyone has their own style of things, but I started listening to your guys' podcast. I think it was a specific episode. I don't remember why, but I tuned into that one specifically. And I can't remember which one. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's what's up. And it was very easygoing, easy to listen to. And so then I would just let the next episode roll over. The next one I realized that I was like, oh, damn, I've listened to almost all these episodes already. So
yeah, man.
Even some out of order, oddly enough, it just kind of skipped around. And I was like, all right, how did I miss that? And it was exciting, to get you guys out here, but it's nerve-wracking only for me because I've known everybody very personal has been on here. I know their story before it's being told, so it's kind of unique, you know what I mean? Even having my wife on, I knew her story, so it's kind of I was waiting for certain points in it, where this is going to be kind of cool, and it's going to be a little different.
Yeah, man. And well, hey, Joe, man, I just want to say thanks for having us out, brother.
Oh, no problem.
And, no, man, we really appreciate it. And Heidi and I, like I said, we just came from Alabama, but the hospital so far, man, we've enjoyed it, and just happy to see you in person, man. So I know we've kind of been texting back and forth, but
yeah,
it's been good to get out here, man, and be on the podcast. So just want to say thanks for having us out.
No, man, definitely pleasure is mine. Just thanks for driving. So you said Alabama.
Yes,
so
sir.
For some reason I thought you guys were in Atlanta. Man, I at one point was even thinking I can
We're
even
not too far away, but
oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was
we're
thinking
about 3 hours away.
Yeah.
oh, okay, gotcha. So yeah, I don't know that part of I don't know the country very, and I've been all over the place. I just don't know that particular part of the country very well, which is weird. But well, that's awesome. Well, so I mean, this is going to be a little bit different format, like we talked about before the podcast, because you guys aren't recovering addicts,
No.
and which is kudos to you. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I wasted some of the best years of my life, drinking and trying to be Mr. Cool Guy, and probably took a lot of years off my life doing it,
Well, at the same time, man, I mean, I think I don't know. I think everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a journey, right? And I don't think the journey is ever fully complete, so people out there who might be listening, who might be on their recovery journey or maybe their fitness journey, right? Because we are a little bit more fitness centric, it's always ongoing. I think people get so caught up on there has to be an end point.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be happy when I get a six pack, or I'll be happy when, I do this. But I think that's part of your past, man. Obviously it's kind of, shaped you to who you are today.
yeah,
There wouldn't be this podcast without it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It's interesting because this podcast, that's the one thing the one big takeaway from wasting all those years drinking and oddly enough judging drug addicts, you know what I mean? But then I was drunk doing it half the time, you know what I mean? Is that we are helping people, and it's this crazy rate that I was not expecting, which is another reason, not believe it or not, but why I wanted to have you guys on here, because a big part of what we do is obviously the product side and the health side of what we do, and we never really touch on that on our podcast at all, you know what I mean? And we get asked quite a bit. People are especially now that we've gone down the road of the Wolves Den Kava, is people are now starting to get a little confused. They're just well, is this place called Wolves Den Kava, or is it Raised by Wolves? And it's this whole wolf thing that I don't know if you heard the story or not. It was all just kind of made up the guy that helped me get sober. And then a musician friend of mine, we were at breakfast one day, and we had all three of us had oddly been thinking about doing something with a wolf involved. It was just weird. And I know you guys said you were faith-based,
Yeah.
And the thing is that we all had some sort of, one of them had even gone as far as like started an LLC called Wolfpack Recovery.
Okay.
Before I even brought up the Raised by Wolves thing with them. So it's just kind of real. And so wolves had to stay in the name when I was going to do the KAVA stuff. And there's even, Black Wolves, which is a charity thing that we're starting and everything. But the product side is, we'll definitely get into that a little bit later in the episode. But, I want for my own reason, plus, your listeners and your podcast or, our listeners and viewers, like, I want to know, like, who you guys are, you know what I mean? And, like, really, like, not being, I've never actually met people that didn't go through some sort of recovery program and get involved with KAVA and Kratom. So it's also kind of unique that way, too. So I kind of want to know, like, who you guys are, like, where did you guys grow up? Like, how did you meet? Like, if you guys just want to...
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'll let ladies go first and give it to Heidi.
Yeah, so I grew up in Arizona. So I was born and raised in Tempe, Arizona. And Charles and I actually met when we were in elementary school in the 5th grade. We were in the same class.
Same class.
He has pictures of me in the yearbook, and he like colored all over my face and like put devil horns on me, which means he loved me.
Yeah,
shit, like
that's what that means. That's what it means.
And so then we didn't meet again until college, and I was like, oh hey, like I remember you. We started dating, and I don't know, it was just different, and we just never
You remembered. Did you lose touch after 5th grade?
Yeah.
Yes.
So my mom taught there, so I lived in Tempe, and then I went to school about 30 minutes away in Gilbert because she was a teacher there, so I was able to go there. And then after 5th grade, I left, so I went to a different district. So we didn't, keep in touch, didn't go to the same school after that. And then in college, I actually kind of Facebook. He was the fraternity brother of a kid in my hall, and I was creeping on him, and I was like, oh, hey, I know him. And then we met, and then, we just started hanging out and dating, and then we got married.
You remembered him from 5th grade. That's cool.
Yeah, I had a crush on him.
Wow.
It's crazy because
cool.
we're kind of talking about like how things just kind of lined up and everything like that,
Yeah.
And, 5th grade together, like I said, and then randomly by chance, went our separate ways. And, I truly believe that like God put Heidi in my life for me, man. Because, those of you out there, who are married, who have partners, like, how crucial that like cohesiveness is. And, you complement each other. And, I don't know, like,
We do.
I'm
We
blessed, man.
compliment each
I
other.
mean, it's cool how we ended up back up together just by a random chance. And actually, it's kind of funny because we did link up once we found out we were in the same university and everything like that. And she came to a party that my fraternity was having, and it was like awkward. I don't know, like we were not feeling it, so we were kind of like,
yeah. It was
so
a
we kind of
Halloween
backed up.
party. He was dressed as a Smurf because he was pledging, so they made them dress like that, and he was
Nice.
all salty, and I'm like, "You're boring me."
Yeah,
And
you're
so
boring me.
Then we didn't talk for a couple months, and then over winter break,
We started talking
We started
again.
talking again,
Yeah.
and then we started hanging out.
Yeah.
That's great. What year
We were
about was that?
freshmen.
Freshman.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this was back in 2000, I guess 2009 we started.
Yeah, it had just like January 2009.
But,
Okay.
That's where we met.
Yeah.
But so Heidi was born and raised in Tempe, like she said. My dad was military, so I was kind of a military brat. But I call Phoenix home. That's where I was at since like I think I was like 8, 9 years old. Grew up there. Then went to Arizona State, and that's where I met Heidi. Then we started dating, and then
He
From there,
joined
I-
ROTC.
yeah, I joined the ROTC, which is Reserve Officer Training Corps. So when you go in the military, you can either enlist, which you can do, right out of high school without a degree. But to become an officer, either go to like the service academies, like West Point Air Force Academy. You can do ROTC, or you can go to officer training school. So I did ROTC in college. So time I was a sophomore, I knew I was going to the military. So I wanted to.
It was a conversation he had with me too. It was early on in our relationship, but I don't know, you just know when you know, and he asked if that was a lifestyle that I thought I could live, and I said, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So
Well, you understood what it took. I I grew up before my biological dad passed away. He was in the Air Force. He's Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force, and he passed away when I was 9, and he had me when he was a little bit older, but that's not why he passed away. But so I understand all that. Like the plan was for my brother and I to go into ROTC
Was it?
in high school.
Yeah.
Plan. So I've always kind of had a special place in my heart because his dad was actually, he enlisted in the Air Force the first year the Air Force was, he lied about his age and went into the Air Force the first year the Air Force started.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's
So
history, right?
and so
there.
that's cool. So I have all that stuff.
Man.
I still have his honors, and I mean I don't know even what you would call it. I have a flag.
All
you know,
all this,
he was
stuff, man.
Yeah, he was I guess Chief Master Sergeant, I guess, is the highest without becoming an officer, right?
Yeah, on the
enlisted
side.
On the enlisted
man,
side.
He's the chief. That's no shit, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, he was like a drill instructor, I guess, at one point and stuff. He did all kind of shit, but I was so young when he passed away that I didn't have very many of those conversations with him. But it was, but yeah, so it's always cool to me. It's like nostalgic. My brother will still talk about it. My brother went into the fire academy, the fire department, and he goes, one of the worst mistakes I think we made is we didn't enlist. And I was like, why are you talking for me, bro? Like, I never planned on doing that. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, but that's really cool. And that's a cool story. And that is tough for like you because, yeah, you could, as you know, you're traveling all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's crazy because growing up, I never pictured myself leaving. It's not that I was against leaving Arizona, but I just never pictured myself leaving Arizona. And then, yeah.
We did. So, yeah, it turned out. So, I mean, Heidi graduated before me, but ROTC is like a 4-year program. So when I graduated college, same like next day I commissioned in the Air Force, 2nd lieutenant. Then we left the next day. Actually, I missed my graduation.
You did, yeah.
Because we had to get out to Pensacola, Florida. So I went out there for flight school. So originally trained as like it's called a combat systems officer. I hate this analogy, but it makes sense to most people. But in Top Gun, Goose, the backseater.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a pilot, but he does like kind of navigation, weapon systems and stuff. So that's what I got trained on kind of originally. Didn't go fighters though. So we were there in Pensacola for a year, flight school. Then I dropped my, in flight school, you kind of like, you compete against each other, which is kind of a weird thing because you're all bros with each other in your class, but you're kind of competing, to kind of get whatever plane you want to get.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of, it was a really fun year and stuff. And this actually kind of starts going into a roundabout story of how I got into KAVA.
Oh, okay.
Because the military, and especially in the Air Force, especially in the aviation community, drinking is huge. I mean,
like you can't go to any event without everyone drinking. It's like expected for you to be drinking.
And it's very ingrained in the culture. Like we had these things called roll calls, which stem from World War II, when pilots would come back from doing missions and you go to roll call, roll call, and you go to the bar, and it was this like thing. And that's like in the flying culture, in the flying community, everything involves alcohol. Like you have like your first ride with someone or like a check ride, which is kind of like a test.
Mm-hmm.
You give your instructor a bottle of alcohol. Yeah. That's what you do. On Fridays, we call it the beer light. So it's in every flying squadron in the Air Force, there's literally a bar in your work.
What the hell?
There's literally a bar, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude. Which is kind of cool because like we call it like our heritage rooms.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like.
And you build community, like you
there's a lot of story and community with it, but everything is centered around alcohol. And even when that first year, when we were in Florida, we really didn't drink that much. We were starting to get like kind of.
I also rewind.
Yeah, you got pregnant.
Unintentionally got pregnant. We went to Pensacola and we were like, we're so excited for this year. We're on the beach and we're not going to get pregnant. And, someone didn't pull out. So, things happen.
They didn't teach you that in ROTC.
But it was a blessing, though. So
of course.
But it was just something like, it was just very much like all around, and I've always been the fitness man. And for those that really kind of know, like alcohol is destructive to your physique, right? So whether you're trying to build muscle, burn body fat, even just have a good sleep, right? Because when you sleep, all this growth hormone, testosterone,
Yep.
all that happens, man. If you're drinking alcohol, it kind of stops that process.
Yep.
So with that being said, I would drink here and there, but at the same time, I was in flight school, man. I was trying to manage all that. I was still trying to work out. Then with Heidi, got a baby coming along the way. So like the drinking just started kind of falling off.
Yeah.
And eventually got to the point where, we pretty much just stopped drinking.
Yeah. Because babies don't care what you did the night before. They're still going to wake up.
Yep. Hangover or not,
Yeah.
they need fed.
And during that time, I was getting more into fitness, more into, trying to build my physique. And I'm not saying it's all about like, how you look, right?
But
Fitness
it helps how you feel too.
And this is much more than that. It's how you feel. But, I was getting much more into that lifestyle and it just fell off, man. But there's always that piece of me, was like, dude, I want something that I can use as like an alcohol replacement.
Like a social lubricant.
Exactly.
Yes. And as Air Force careers start going down the more on the line, deployments, all that kind of stuff racks up, man. You start getting stressed from that kind of stuff, just things like that. And I'm not saying that you need something as a crutch to relax or to calm down, but it's nice to have something, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think anyone can agree with that. And I
Especially,
started kind of
being military, there are other options, but he can't do 420, he can't do CBD. They're not options.
so drug
for
tests
him,
are
so.
a thing, and
Yeah.
so weed's out of the picture, right?
Yeah.
So also we're very much into ingredients and supplements. We had a business at one point, Beyond Alpha Nutrition. We made pre-workout. So I've always been into ingredients, man. And like, what does this do in the body? What does this herb do? What does this amino acid do? And so I started looking at things like, okay, well, like, what does alcohol do? It affects your GABA receptors. What other ingredients out there affect your GABA receptors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what, what makes you feel good? Sometimes me, that's like, dopamine.
Yep.
Well, there's ingredients out there that affect dopamine, right? So just kind of exploring. And then it was actually, I was out at a training in Alabama, where we're at now. I was out there in the training that actually I teach now.
Oh, wow.
I'm an instructor out there now. And I was out there and I came upon literature on KAVA. And I remember telling Heidi about it. I was like,
Literature?
just literature, man. It was like probably some like WordPress article on KAVA. And it was just really cool. And
I remember he came home and he was super excited about it and trying to tell me, and I'm just like, whatever.
All right.
So when I was out there in Alabama, man, I went to a vitamin shop and they have KAVA capsules.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll get into this, but KAVA capsules is not like drinking.
Yeah.
Regular.
I personally don't like them. Like,
No,
you know what I
'cause
mean?
they don't do much.
Yeah.
They can be good. Like if you have anxiety or social anxiety, it can help for that. So it's not that they have no purpose, but for the purpose that, that alcohol replacement, no, they don't compare at all.
Someone bought me some of those one time, and the only purpose they had was me opening them to put them in kava and put them in a drink.
So I went to Vitamin Shop, man. I got this capsule of these KAVA capsules, and I'm just like, I'm chilling, back in my kind of dorm room. I'm at thing, and I'm taking them, and
Just slamming KAVA capsules.
yeah, man. And I'll be honest,
How many
like,
things did you took?
probably like, I don't know, 3-4 times the recommended dosage. And remember, with KAVA capsules, you're not going to even get to the equivalent of what you do with drinking the grog,
Oh, yeah.
Additional grind. And I felt nothing, man. And I was like, dude, this is not what I'm looking for.
Well, you might not have ever experienced addiction, but so my brother hasn't either. Have I showed you pictures of my brother?
I don't think so.
So he looks like he could compete like in bodybuilding, like he's huge. And I tell him, because he's giving me shit about the whole addiction thing. I was like, you think you're not addicted? You think you don't have an addictive personality? You wake up at 3 a.m. to eat chicken.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean?
Addicted
Like,
to fitness,
and so
for sure.
so you taking that right there, all I'm thinking in my mind is that's addict behavior. But then I had to remind myself, like, you're addicted to something that's actually going to help you live longer. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, that's a great point though, because you can be addicted to anything. And that's what, when people think of an addict, they automatically think like drugs or alcohol or something bad. But our whole society is addicted to food and sugar and social media, and you can be addicted to anything, and you absolutely can be addicted to fitness.
Yeah.
And it can be okay, but it can also be, you can take that to the extreme as well.
Yeah.
Not that Charles was to the extreme, but for sure.
Sometimes.
And I didn't want to sidebar too much, but when I'm hearing that, I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's like, like me, I was trying to maybe take kava capsules to feel like when I was drinking. You might have had the same. This is just me throwing it out there. Like, you know, when you leave the gym, if you didn't feel like you had the right pump, you're like, fuck, I should either stayed longer or did something else. You know? Well, that's the same when you're taking this kava. You didn't feel that. You're just like, I'm expecting to feel something here. Like when I go on a run, if my legs don't hurt after, I'm like usually irritated. Like, man, I should have planned the run 5 minutes earlier or something. You know what I mean? Or, you know, so I get what you mean.
And so came back. I remember from that, and you know, all along this time, again, we're getting more into fitness. You know, Heidi starting her fitness journey because that's probably something to hit too. Because you know, Heidi now, you know, she's a certified personal trainer. She works for this company, Copilot.
Nice.
She's doing awesome, but I
wasn't always that way.
Not like that all the time. Like she didn't have these guns. At one
concealed weapons.
At one point, she was 90 pounds and super skinny.
Yeah, no, I started my fitness journey at like 96 pounds. So, and that's hard too, because a lot of people, when you think, oh, my fitness journey, people automatically think losing weight, which is a big struggle for many people. And I know that was, you know, part of your journey. But mine was, you know, I couldn't keep weight on. And, you know, I was 96 pounds. And so I'm about 125 now. And that's huge. Like, that's a 30-pound difference.
Dude, that's a lot of weight.
And I was skin and bones before. And so fitness and eating properly helped me, you know, on that journey.
And to put that in perspective, like, for instance, like one time, like on my deployment, our old dog, we had this like, you know, big bag of like Costco sized dog food.
30-pound bag of dog food.
And she had to call our friend, Matt, who was actually our neighbor at the time, to come over to lift the dog food.
Yeah, because I couldn't.
That was gone.
Amazon delivered it, and I couldn't.
Now you're carrying like 3 of those. Well,
Yeah.
you would be carrying like 3 of
What'd
those.
you deadlift the other day?
Oh, I hit 205.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So
Wow. So that's what's up.
Heidi's fitness journey, I mean, is crazy. And again, like she mentioned, everyone thinks like a lot of times they think fitness is like, you know, losing weight. But for a lot of people, especially really skinny people and skinny, you know, females, building muscle is a challenge.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, especially with, you know, you've had, you know, 2 kids, postpartum and all that. And we might get into this too. And crazy car accident we got into.
That's definitely something we're talking about,
With
because
her
that's
TBI.
recovery. All in it. I enjoyed it was sad, but I enjoyed the episode because of the whole trying to escape the hospital part of that episode and stuff. But also that's a crazy recovery story. I listened to that episode twice because it was so because I was interrupted with phone calls a bunch of time, because I was like, that's wild, because if that doesn't make you believe in God, hearing something like that's crazy. Just everything that lined up, like your kids, you know what I mean, the first responders being close, like, you know, all that was insane.
It's a crazy story, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Fast forwarding a little bit, you know, we got into kava. We discovered kava as you know, that replacement for alcohol that, you know, would allow us to relax at the end of the day, that we could still focus on our fitness and still keep that as our goal, but still have that, you know, social lubrication. We could hang out with friends, and we could come home at the end of the day and have something, you know, relaxing to do.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I still feel like kava is still so small in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for people who understand the history of kava, right, you know, it was used in the Pacific Islands, Polynesian Islands, you know, for a very, very long time as part of a cultural sort of, you know, ceremony. And it's nothing new to where it comes from.
Yep.
In the United States, though, it's still so small and still so new. So when we found kava, and the real kava, because I came back from that when I was, you know, in training and taking the kava capsules, came back and I was like, all right, we got to figure this out. Like, we got to figure out how to do kava the right way. So we started researching more, and just so happened that like a couple months later, we were doing a trip to Miami.
Ooh.
And
It was one of our first solo trips without the kids. So we were pretty
yeah,
excited.
man. So we're stoked. Finally had some like kind of downtime, and it was Purple Lotus Kava Bar down in Miami. Now the location that we went to, I think, is closed now. But at the time, Miami didn't really have much kava bars. They do have a couple now. But so we went there on our trip, and we have an episode on this, our first kava bar experience. But we went there and probably had the kava bar experience that we don't want people to have their first time.
Yes.
Because we were mixing kava and kratom together.
Which, yeah, we would never recommend you do, especially, you can do it once you've experienced both, but
Yes.
for your first time, terrible recipe.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I do remember that episode, and like, yeah, and I remember you said you like, one of you, I guess, had got to go to the restroom, and like your legs kind of gave out, like you were like,
we were
Yeah.
We were having fun. Like,
So,
we're having
yes.
a blast.
that's
Yeah.
when we realized, like, okay, there's something
Something's
to
happening.
this. This has acute effects that feel similar to you would with, alcohol, or, some might, if you've dabbled in the 420, somewhat effects
Oh, yeah.
of that.
And having both really felt like doing the kratom and the kava, and we were drinking a lot. So if, for those listeners who are familiar with both, they gave us a drink that was mixed. It was called the Komodo, and it was mixed kava and kratom together. Then they would also give us shells of kava, and then also give us kratom tea. So there was a whole
I drink
lot
this shit almost every day, and that makes my stomach hurt.
Yeah.
I don't, like, that's like, wow, that's a
And so
lot.
it
I
felt
was
like-
feeling good though, man.
until
but-
we stood up and started walking. Then it was like, whoa! But
Yeah.
it felt like being drunk and high together. And if you've ever been drunk and high together, again, it's not typically a good situation.
Yeah.
But I will say, and kind of preface the story with, we went in uneducated,
Exactly.
and the kava tender
Did not
is not
educate
doing
us.
his job.
Yeah.
And when it comes to any substance, any ingredient that you're using, so much of that is knowledge. And I say that because, unfortunately, especially with kratom, it has a lot of misconceptions around it. Even kava has some misconceptions around it. So, but with anything that you're putting into your body, and this goes back to us on that kava bar experience, we probably should have maybe, asked him a little bit more, like, hey, this Komodo, like, how much kava is in there? What kind of, is this a
What
kratom
affects the life
extract,
field?
or is this kratom leaf? Is it loose leaf tea? What is it, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, depending on why you're there, how you got there, like, you have to depend on the kava tender.
Exactly.
Because if you're just like, if you just walk in on this, like, let's say you just literally walk by a kava bar and goes, what the hell's kava? And you walk in there, you're not, you've never, and you probably won't, because most people don't want to look like an idiot Googling where they just walked into, like, what is this? Like, is that you have to rely on them. The reason that we're not serving certain things, the reason I have the new menus ready to be put on tables in the place here. Those guys have to know exactly what they're serving, because even just as something as simple as cacao, because it will give you energy.
Yeah.
The other night, a lady like 60 years old came in there and said, I'd really like to try, somebody the other night gave me some cacao inside my kava shell. And I was like, are you trying to go to sleep tonight? And I'm thinking like age, what you're drinking. And she's like, yeah. She's like, but I really like the way it tastes. I go, so let me explain. Do you know what cacao is? She's like, not really. It just, they said it had a chocolatey flavor to it. I go, no.
It's a Hershey's bar.
I go, no, you're gonna have energy after you drink this. And she's like, oh, I don't drink coffee after like noon. And I was like, then you don't
Yeah, you
want to
don't
drink
want
cacao with your kava,
Or, or if you, gave her like a white strain of kratom.
Holy shit.
Yeah, or like or a kava that's a little bit more. So when we talk about kava and on the podcast too, a lot of times we do compare it to cannabis in the sense that you have,
It's easy to explain.
Yeah.
it is, you have like indica and sativa. One makes you a little bit more uplifted. One makes you a little bit more, ready for sleepy time.
Yep.
Kind of same with kava too. You'll have your balanced, your hybrids, or you'll have your ones that are a little bit more heady, which gives you a little bit more of that anti-anxiety, a little bit more sociability. Then you have your ones that are a little bit more heavy.
Yep.
So you're gonna help you relax, go to
How do you
sleep.
say they make your eyelids heavy?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Did Brian tell you last night about the OG that we serve?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
just the 3. Yeah, and that's just something it's been a staple because of a person that really, you explain that to them and they just don't, it was an accident really, because when I explain to a lot of people what it is, especially my friends, they don't know. I don't know. So what I started doing was mixing the 3 together, but what I do to kind of offset the effects is I'll dilute it more based on like if it's a person is more experienced, or maybe I'll ice it down a little more or something like that.
Just
but
smart,
still,
man.
the
You gotta
education
cater
is
a
still
little
there
bit.
though. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
but if you want this, like, you know what I mean, a Vanuatu or like a Tongan, like, you know what I mean, I will explain the benefits of all of them. And so, but
I would love for you to just give us a little bit of history of how you got into kava and then how you opened the kava bar that you're.
Yeah.
so I quit drinking. So real quick, because this is a cool part of the story that a lot of people ask, obviously, is like, why'd you quit drinking? I actually, at the time I quit drinking, I didn't think that I wanted to quit drinking, like most people that are drinking, because I was making pretty good money. I'm living in Vegas. I'm, fucking, I could Uber. I Ubered 9 bars in one day. I became like an Uber Gold member one day. In one day, just because I was Ubering the bars, like I was bar hopping.
It's like that's like a bar crawl.
My ex-girlfriend took away my car keys that day, and so I just said, "What, you think I can't? I can Uber wherever I want. I can Uber to another state if I want. You know what I mean?" And so anyways, I was at a show, and here in town, a band that I knew was in town, and I was in the VIP, so it was like all you can drink. And I had gotten so drunk to where I left and tried to get into my car and drive home. I went to the valet, and then the valet driver wouldn't give me my keys. So I like pushed the valet driver. I was like, "You're gonna give me my fucking keys." And then I swung on him. And then I obviously, if you're at a casino, like security's just there in like fucking 2 seconds. And I was like, "Well, fuck you, I'm calling the cops." He's like, "Okay, call the cops." Like, you know what I mean? Like, what you're going to jail. You know what I mean? And so I ended up blacking out that night. I ended up going home in an Uber that I don't remember going in. I ended up spending like another $400 at Top Golf, like 2 blocks away.
And you don't remember that?
At all. Like
man.
all. I still don't even have. And so most people are like, "I blacked out all the time." I'm like, that's all it took for me. Because I was like, man, I can't go out there like blacking out and doing shit. So called a friend of mine, got sober, called a guy I didn't know that is now my business partner, Jimmy, which was episode 1 of this podcast. Called him. He was a pastor of a church, so I was already kind of upset that because at the time my faith has gotten a lot better since being sober, I should say, because I used to just feel like I didn't even know if there was a God, honestly, at one point. You know what I mean? I was just in this world to make money and for people to have their hand out kind of thing. I know it's a bad way of looking at things, but so I go to this mega church thing that a bigger church, I called it a mega church, and I'm there to meet Pastor Jimmy. And I'm thinking, because I seen a bunch of people that were, no tattoos, very straight-laced people. I'm like, this is not going to work for me for shit. Like going to see some guy, it's the pastor of this church. And then I'm asking for Pastor Jimmy, and then this guy comes down with straight neck down tattoos everywhere, and he's Pastor Jimmy, and I'm like, what? Yeah, he's like 6'5", huge dude, used to be like an enforcer for like the Irish mob at one point. So I don't even know if I should, but whatever. But you know what I mean? But he's doing stuff. He was like a door kicker, you know what I mean? And then he had been saved, and like he turned his life around. And at the time he was 18 years sober from crack cocaine.
Wow.
And his wife is the next episode. So how we run these episodes real quick is that I'll can this episode and then launch the next episode that I already have canned, and the next episode is it's a big one in my opinion, because one, like, I got very emotional in that episode because I was talking about her husband, because I had Jimmy's wife on the last episode, and it was like, man, it's tough talking about Jimmy because I feel like he really did like save my life, So I'm like, so I get this relationship with this guy, Jimmy. He's like, you need to go to 90 meetings in 90 days, and I'm like, I'm not an alcoholic, and he goes like, how do you figure you're not an alcoholic? He's like, I don't sponsor people, but my dad died from alcoholism. He was the CEO of a company, and he drank himself to death. And I was like, shit. And he's also, I'll help you. So long story short, I'm like 2 weeks into it. I'm still 315 pounds. Like I'm still somewhere around that. I'm going crazy because I'm also trying to eat better now too, because I realized that drinking and eating like shit went hand to hand.
Yep.
And I'm like sitting around the house in a bad relationship, girlfriend still drinking, you know what I mean? I know in the back of my mind I could technically like drink and probably not even tell anybody. AA meetings were more than anything pissing me off at the time, because I was like, I didn't buy in right away to them. So anyways, oddly enough, my ex-girlfriend watches a show called Love and Hip Hop, and they had went to a kava bar on the episode. And so she's like, why don't you try this thing called kava? And I was just like, so I Googled it, and I was like, what the hell is it? And it looked like, all right, cool. Worst case scenario, I tried, I don't like it.
Yeah.
So then I Uber over because I didn't know if kava would actually get me drunk. So I Ubered over.
Did you feel like, is that what you, because a lot of people do go into kava thinking that they will feel
I
like
did.
they feel when they're drunk.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
same.
That the amount of kava that I drank the first night was crazy. Because I Ubered over to the kava bar, 9th Island, which is now Wolves Den Kava that we own. Like I Uber over there, I sat exactly where Brian was sitting last night. Because I was like, I looked at the camera like, oh, they're over there, and and I sat right there, and I ordered a Tanola because it was the most you can order at one time.
Yeah, man. That's so.
Yeah,
For people that know that, that's the traditional
traditional
It's
Tanola,
meant to be served with like a group.
and it was
with the group.
me.
Yes.
And I didn't like the way it tasted right out the bat, so they had brought peanut butter protein powder out
Oh,
and
interesting.
put it in there,
Okay.
which is still kind of an option, I guess. But
Yeah.
so, anyways, I drink it, and about 5 minutes after I drink it, like I started feeling the numbness. I started feeling like, and I said, being an entrepreneur more than like at the time, I thought of myself more of an entrepreneur, not an alcoholic. Is that I was like, I need to do something with this. Like this is, and at the time it was 100% just a business decision. I didn't realize how much it would actually affect the sober community, like help the sober community.
Yeah.
Then I called Jimmy, which was like my not really unofficial sponsor, and said, hey, I'm going to start drinking kava. And he's like, I need to come see what this is. So he came over, and being a recovering cocaine addict, he drank it the first time and it made his mouth up. He's like, what the hell is in this? Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it was
throws
like,
people.
yeah, you know what I mean? And so we went down that path. And then I started, a lot of my friends, I have a, for better or worse, I have a circle of influence because of things I've done in the past, whether it be with music or just different things. And a lot of my friends started being curious on what I was doing because I started posting about kava on social media. And at the time, I had like this Facebook page with like 5,000 fucking friends on there that I later deleted because it was just a party on there. These people were like, "Hey man, you ever try to drink, mixed out with this and this?" And it was just some big thing. But people were talking about it, so I started bringing people to the kava bar. And at a certain point, like before the lockdown in 2020, there was like crowds of 30, 40 people in there that were all just my friends drinking kava.
Awesome.
Some people even come there after a bar. You know what I mean, just to meet me there. So I saw, but then some of my friends that are really, they're good friends in there. So I have friends now that are 2, going on 3 years sober because they followed kind of my, I guess, lead, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To where like I have multiple friends now that are now, they're huge kava and kratom drinkers. And the only reason I started even getting into the kratom side is because I started meeting people that were telling me, because I was at this point, I'm already like about 6 months in, I'm really, really entrenched in like the sober community. I'm like helping people because I knew that this, even though it was kind of frowned upon, a lot of OG like AA and NA people like frown upon kava and kratom.
Really? I mean, I understand kratom for sure, but kava
Yeah,
too?
it definitely. Like I went to a meeting one time, like a noon meeting with my wife. She used to go to this noon meeting every day. I went there, and this guy there told me I need to change my sober date because I was drinking kava.
Interesting.
And I was just like,
And that goes back
I
education, man.
Yeah.
Education piece on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's what we get frustrated too because people will come into kava expecting it because we use it as an alcohol replacement. Sorry, my voice. We use it as an alcohol replacement, but it doesn't feel like alcohol. Like it's totally different. And so people assume though that it's going to alter your brain just like alcohol will. But it doesn't.
I was trying to drink so much of that the first like 2-3 weeks I was drinking kava. And then there's these certain times where I'd start to feel like a little, I'm like, man, I cracked the code. Like maybe I need to, it was stupid because I was still fighting that addict in my head. Like, you know what I mean? I want to do something,
And I think a lot with addiction, right? So people get addicted to things because they're always trying to fill a void. And that addiction can come in the form of alcohol, drugs, right? Could come in the form of people who abuse exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we go back to like, you could be addicted to anything, but a lot of times, man, people are always trying to chase something to fulfill them. And I really think that people who aren't content or don't have meaning or purpose, a lot of times they're chasing, substance to get them to feel away and escape, right? And what's cool about kava is you don't escape.
Yep.
You're not going to escape reality with that. You're not going to get blacked out or, with like certain drugs, even cannabis, could put you in a different headspace, right?
I mean, absolutely.
And, I know psychedelics are becoming more popular, especially like in the veteran community right now.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of dudes are using psychedelics. for PTSD treatment and everything. That's awesome. You know, that still takes you to a different mindset.
Yep.
Kava's not going to do that, which honestly, one of the biggest things I love about Kava is it never takes away my mentality and my headspace.
Yeah.
I'm always there. I'm just more relaxed. I feel more open.
Yep.
And content. And I like people to kind of look at Kava in that fact that, like, don't look at it as a way to escape, you know, and like you would with like alcohol to kind of, you try to meet something.
If anything, I think it makes you more present, you know,
Yes.
with where you are and who you are.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Oh man, I wish I had. See, normally I'd have water to give you, but we're at a new location.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And with that addiction piece, man, I'm just saying, you know, because it just seems right now, and let's talk about like social media addiction, right? Because, you know, a lot of people are addicted to social media. And again, you know, and my heart goes out to people, man, because I feel like a lot of people just lack fulfillment. They lack purpose, you know, and there's nothing, you know, money's not going to do it for you, you know, no matter how many cars you have or, you know, stats or whatever. And, you know, for us, you know, really it's, you know, God is our sufficiency and our fulfillment, man. And I'm a man of God and I live for him, you know. Then after that, you know, it's my family and, you know, kind of my purpose, what I try to do, you know. And what I've liked about Kava is it's never taken me from that. It's only, I think, added to my relationships, added to how I am at home, as a husband, as a father, you know.
Because you're present.
When
you're drunk,
man, yes.
Mind altered, you're not.
Exactly.
You're not.
And that's something for people to think about, man, who might be out there, you know, watching this, who are using alcohol, you know, to escape, or maybe they're using, you know, drugs to escape. You know, kind of think about like what are you trying to escape from, you know, or what are you not being fulfilled by? And this is a whole other
Oh, I know.
this is a whole other discussion. But you know, I kind of wanted to bring Kava into that piece because I think it will bless people, you know, to find it, to try, you know, Kava, because they'll see, man, it opens you up, helps you relax, get content, but you're going to remember your conversations, right?
Yep.
You're going to be present at home, you know.
Yeah, that's why I like drinking at the end of the day, you know, with my kids. If you have kids, you know they can be very stressful. We love them so much. But it makes me relax. It makes my tolerance greater, and I can enjoy them and let them be who they are.
Yes.
And not get frustrated with them and be present with them and love them and remember that time with them. You know, if I came home and downed a bottle of wine, I wouldn't have that same experience. So,
No.
And that's kind of why we started, you know, KAVA and Kettlebells, to be able to share that with people, to educate people, you know, on KAVA. And
I love the approach that you guys take, you know, I mean, with KAVA and Kettlebells, because, you know, as much as I don't even know how to explain it. It's because I try to explain your podcast to a lot of people, and I go, I don't know, you just got to listen to it. But because what it is that it really is very health focused, but incorporating KAVA and Kratom into health.
Yes.
You know, and it struck a nerve with me right off the bat in a good way, because, you know, I'm big on, you know, I lost 135 pounds. So I'm like, I don't want to ever go back down that road. So like, I am very careful as well. Maybe sometimes, like, I mean, I had some like vegan ice cream yesterday, and then I was paying for it. And then my wife's always like, you're always paying for it when you eat shit. But I know better than to eat stuff like that, you know? But the thing is that, but I do incorporate KAVA and Kratom into that. Like, yes. Kratom is part of I don't take a regular type of pre-workout, because before I go exercise at all, like, I'll take white Kratom, cacao. I have like a ashwagandha, like stuff like that. Cordyceps now. I think you're the one that actually put me on the cordyceps. You know, I put that, just scoops of straight that into like the shot now. And then at night when I'm...
So you're doing kind of what Charles does, where you just kind
I've always mixed my own.
Oh, I have this ridiculous... I have this
ridiculous
ridiculous thing in the cabinet to where I forgot to like get it together to go to Malibu this week, and my wife had a bag of it all. She's like, I don't even know what the hell you even... I was like, well, I just kind of like, the mood is like, maybe a little bit, you know what I mean? And she's got me. And I put that, you know, but at the end of the night, like, I'll wake up, because I'm so busy with everything that I got going on. If I don't drink kava before I go to bed. And this maybe is a crutch, but it's a positive crutch. Before it was alcohol blurring out my world.
Yeah.
Like when I laugh at my friends that have full-time jobs that work 50 hours a week or something like that, and they tell me they're stressed out. I go, that shit's cute to me. Like, you know what I mean? Because like I'm halfway through my week and I'm at 50 hours. You know what I mean? So I constantly am waking up in the middle of the night if I don't have something to block some of that out. And so if I don't drink kava or sometimes kratom, depending on the mood, or hell, even sometimes both, like I'll wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, even just to use the restroom, and then I'm back in work mode like right away. Like I'm just like, shit.
There.
You know what? Maybe if I got up right now at 3:30 in the morning, I can get ahead of like, you know what I mean, the emails and this, you know what I mean? And I have to drink. I have to. So it is a crutch for me. But, you know, I'd rather that be the crutch than I was drinking an aggressive amount of whiskey, like aggressive. You know what I mean? Like it's like if I took 2 or 3 shots back to back, like I would just, I mean, beer wasn't even a thing for me anymore because I just thought that was a waste of time. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't even drinking beer anymore unless somebody just bought me a beer and it was at the table.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so like I felt like I needed it. I used to tell people, I go, if I didn't drink, I'd kill somebody. But then the stupid thing about it is my drinking probably would have eventually killed somebody, you know, or myself.
Do you feel like kava, when you found kava, that really helped you on that?
Oh, hell yes. I can't say this for certain because I was in a big part. I was involved with AA. Not like I wasn't going through the steps, but I was going to AA every day. I was calling Jimmy. There was like, you know what I mean, which I guess what you do when someone's like your friend / sponsor. I was calling him, but I was also going through a breakup, you know what I mean, a relationship that was probably over with 3 years before we actually separated. I was moving. I was going through a lot of shit at the same time as getting sober. I was losing weight. I was trying to lose weight, you know, and then COVID hits, you know what I mean? And so,
that all can be very triggering.
And yeah, and I had just went into a new business with a sushi place. And so my one business was supporting the other business and all that. So I tell people all the time that I'd more than likely would have relapsed, maybe not permanently, but I would have relapsed if it wasn't for kava, because like I would go into Ninth Island so often to where when I'd walk in, I'd literally just walk behind the counter, grab the remote, and go sit down, and they knew what to bring me if I was on the phone.
They had like,
yeah, and like it was just
it was gonna be like this shelf.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it was crazy. Like they have lockers that are in the back now for something else. And at one point they had said, hey, if you just want to like, you know, pre-buy your own stuff and keep it in here, or like snacks of yours or something, you can just put your, you could just like, cause I was going in there aggressively spending money. When I stopped going there, it was funny cause they said that there were some days where it was so slow in there because no one knew about anything about kava, and they weren't really doing a great job, in my opinion, talking about it. Is where I was like the only person, me and my friends were the only people in there for the whole day sometimes, you know?
Dude,
and
well, I mean, kava by yourself is not a bad thing.
Yeah, no kidding. And so, but you know, it was, but yeah, it definitely helped me. And like I said, and it's helping my friends. Like it's cool because now I'm seeing my friends that are even coming on the podcast, or I just, you know, I paint like pretty regularly, you know?
Yeah.
And the guys that I paint with are all sober now, and we're all painting, and we're all like, you know, the guys that will come to paint with us occasionally that are still drinking was like, what's that shit you're drinking? Like, because they see us all with these bottles of kava, you know what I mean? And so dude, it's like,
and I think that's so much of it, man, is like just getting people to try it. And I think that can be hard too, because
it doesn't taste good.
It doesn't, but it's still one of those things where, you know, people are used to, you know, they go to a bar. That's a normal thing. Right? It's a normal. It's interestingly enough, right? And it's normal to go to McDonald's and get food, right? That's normal food, and it's normal to go afterwards and go to a bar. That's normal. There's no questions asked, right? That's a normal thing. To that same person, you put in front of them, you know, shell kava, and they'll be like, "What is this?"
Oh, I know.
Get weirded out by it, and it's like, well, you just ate McDonald's and you just had alcohol, but you won't try
you don't seem to be
a natural plant, you know? Yeah. And that's a lot too, I think, with what spurred KAVA Kettlebells, because, you know, and especially once Heidi got really into fitness and, you know, she became a personal trainer, all that, like, dude, we live that lifestyle.
Yep.
And for a lot of people who don't understand, I mean, like, we don't compete in bodybuilding and stuff like that, you know, but like we very much
he's did a competition back in
one
the
show.
day.
But we live that lifestyle, right? You know, we eat clean, we eat healthy food because it makes us feel good. right? We, prioritize our sleep, everything that goes with that. And unless you're really in that fitness community, a lot of people don't understand it.
Yep.
They'll be like, well, why can't you stay out till 2 a.m.? Or like, why can't you just go eat this all the weekend?
Yep.
And so we always kind of felt like an outcast in that sense too, and
I'm in that club.
Yeah,
Like my
it's
friends,
hard.
I hardly hang out with anybody that, well, actually I don't, other than very, very seldom. I don't really hang out with anybody that eats like shit or drinks. And I remember when Jimmy told me that would happen, and I was still going to bars, like because my friends were there. They were like, "That'll change."
it's because if you're around that, man, like it's got no place for you. So
Well,
why
yeah.
surround yourself with those
And we
people?
say it too on our podcast. We talk about, when you have goals, you shouldn't have to justify. We shouldn't have to justify living a healthy lifestyle to people, but you do when you're hanging out with people who don't understand that. They do. They judge you and they ask you questions, and you feel like you have to justify it. And we say it's okay to separate yourself from, or to distance yourself from those people, and to surround yourself with people who have the same goals, who are living the same lifestyle, and that will help you, and then you can help them, and that's okay. Like, it's okay, but I feel like it's so hard for people to accept that it's okay to distance yourself from people,
Yes.
that you're not, connected to them for life.
That's again, you guys, we're never drug addicts and struggle with addiction, but that same, I don't know how many times in just the last 3.5 years I've had that same conversation with people. I'm like, and I tell people, because they said, well, I can still go and kick it with this guy or whatever, even if it's at the bar. And I'm like, dude, you go to the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. It's just how that shit works.
Facts, man.
You know what I mean? And so you got to distance yourself. Like, I go to eat, like one of my favorite places still to eat here in Vegas is Lazy Dog, which isn't even far from here, and I still go there. I like the lettuce wraps. I like eating there, but I would purposely walk in, go to the left because that was the bar area. Now, if they go, it's going to be a 10-minute wait, you know what I mean? But we're going to seat you at a table, or you can go in the bar area. It's open seating. I'm just like, I'll just wait.
Yeah.
Because I don't even want to be in that. I don't even want to be in that.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be in that, You
Yeah.
have to do that.
Yeah.
And so, kind of with that being said, man, and like, we're just trying to get the word out because, like, Heidi and I, man, for instance, like when we came in, for the podcast, right? We come into Vegas, most people go to the strip,
Which we did back in the
We
day.
did back in the day.
But
but go drink and do all that kind of stuff, But for us, man, like we come in, the first thing we do is, we went and found like a meal prep place. We got some meals for the time we're here, so we're kind of like,
Where'd you go? Just out of curiosity.
It was like, what was that place? It was next to
we went to two places, but it was like
Fit Meals for You.
Meals
Oh, okay.
Or something.
Fit for
which,
Meals?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
It was all right. But
There's
then
a couple of
You
good
got the
ones,
job
yeah.
done.
We went to
Yeah.
another one, like Greens
Protein.
and
Greens and protein.
But-
yeah, I know what you're talking
It's
about.
You're
we went to,
regardless,
Chaos Gym. It's right there. That
We
one's
came,
good.
we came in, we found the gym because we want to get our workout on, eat good. But the whole podcast started up because, like, in a way, you kind of feel like, I don't know, you're trying to find your community.
Yeah.
Like we enjoy fitness, we enjoy working out and stuff, but we also want to feel good, but we want to go out to the bars. We don't want to, go drinking, and then, for us, and for me especially, I can't be smoking weed, right now because I'm in the service.
Yeah.
And that will be something in the future. But so like, but there's no one else out there really like,
Yep.
who's doing kava, and
Yeah.
a lot of the kava bars out there, they're starting to grow, and there's a lot, for people who don't know, Florida is the mecca for kava bars. They're everywhere. St. Pete, in St. Petersburg area in Tampa has a shit ton, but some of those kava bars too, it's a different kind of like more of an alternative crowd there.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes you get like, a meathead like me that comes in, and I'm not saying the community is not there, but, we're trying to bring kava and kratom to the fitness community.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess kind of more like mainstream, and kind of people who are just, wanting to live a healthy lifestyle, but also those, people who are really into fitness being like, hey, there is something for you to try.
Yeah.
There's something
Absolutely.
you get into your routine. So we're just trying to take our little niche and our little community and try to grow it a bit.
No, I think, it's cool because it sounds like you started the podcast, obviously, like, to be more connected to the community that you have grown fond of, but also, I don't know, well, I guess you just answered the question. You're intentionally trying to tap into a different audience and that's cool because like I think that the people that I've shared your podcast with are definitely more of the people that are going to appreciate your podcast more than other KAVA, or Kratom based podcasts. Again, I'm good with that. I have no, I have, I'm in the cannabis industry, so it's very similar to the KAVA community. Like, there's people that in the cannabis community that I would consider like, I call them tree huggers. That's not necessarily like a derogatory term because I love them. But then I'm very like, I have been in the cannabis industry for 13 years and I haven't smoked weed in 20. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing is that like, I feel that you don't, you don't have to fit a certain mold to be in what you're doing, even if you have love for that, And so that's kind of cool what you guys are doing because it is so different. And you do cool product reviews too, you know what I mean?
We try to, man. We try to. And a lot of what we're trying to do also, going with that education piece and going with spreading the word is we're trying to give, KAVA vendors, Kratom vendors, and KAVA bars a platform to come on the show, to talk about, hey, what's a KAVA bar? Their personal story, how they got in the KAVA, opening the KAVA bar. And then, hearing from some vendors, on their products and stuff and, giving people unbiased reviews about what's out there in the marketplace.
Yeah. So, have you, you don't have to mention any names, but have you talked with a vendor or a brand or anything like that to where after you've talked with them, you've decided like not to put them on the show?
No, we haven't had any that we decided not to. We do have people message us and ask to like be on the show, and we will be like, yeah, for sure, like message me this, and we'll talk more to them, and they might seem a little bit not the type of person we want to have on the show, so we just won't necessarily pursue them anymore, but they also stop the conversation, and so we just don't start it back up.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
that's the nature of having a podcast, I feel.
Yeah.
Like I had to recently hire somebody. Well, they already kind of worked for me to literally just screen messages on the Raised by Wolves podcast. The Raised by Wolves page, because of like it's very interesting the people that want to go on there, and then the weird shit like
and you get
straight up, but like
you get spam and
a lot of spam and stuff. But I think it's I was gonna say I think it's exciting to have a podcast in the space because there's not much out there, and I think there might start being a few other KAVA podcasts out there, but a lot. I know one other that's coming up. It's backed by a brand, and which is cool and everything. But
isn't that Lalo's or
no
or Craves?
I don't want to know something.
Oh, okay, cool. Never mind. Yeah, all right. No.
It's out there, but I don't want to calling out. But I think there's space for everything.
Gotcha.
And that's my thing. Everyone can grow in the space, but I do think what people enjoy about ours is that we are unbiased. We don't have any backing from any companies.
And we do. That's one thing we get a lot is lots of people that we review, they say, let's do a collaboration. We will sponsor you. And we always say no, or, they'll say, can we pay you for this review? And we say no, like we want it to be strictly unbiased. And I just don't feel like our listeners wouldn't trust what I would 100%. A review if I'm getting paid to do it. Why would I trust what you're saying?
Yep. I'm glad that I mentioned like discount kind of code thing more to help the to help anybody listening more than anything.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That for sure. But people will say, well, do you want a kickback? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
We don't want a kickback.
One episode, the one episode that hit, over, I think it's like at 1.6 million views for my wife's episode. That did something crazy that I wasn't expecting, where I was getting flooded with people trying to monetize the episodes. Like I was getting messages on TikTok, YouTube, fucking all over the place. I was getting phone calls because my phone number was connected to the YouTube channel. And at first I'm like, wow, this could be crazy. This could be a really good income. And then it dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute here. Like, no, I didn't start this to monetize this. Like, you know what I mean? I started this to help people. I didn't even want to be on a podcast. I still don't like watching myself or listening to myself. Like, I've been behind the scenes the
weird to
whole
listen
time.
to yourself.
It is, yeah. And I turned down an opportunity to be on a reality show a few years ago. That's because it was cannabis based that never really got up on its feet, and I was going to be on there with Pauly Shore of all people.
Oh no, shit!
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't know. Maybe I'm breaking an NDA right now, but but the thing is that, and then there was a documentary being made about my company, you know, back in the day, and we canned it because we just didn't. When we finally watched it, it was so poorly put together to where I was like, "There's no way, man! You don't come back from something like this. This is like horrible." Made us look like just a bunch of stoners that were like growing weed, and we're like the opposite of that, you know. And so, but it was but yeah. And then recently, the craziest thing is that I was I think I would think that I'm still friends with a guy that's, you know, he started a very large beverage company. And then I was asked to be on a podcast, and I decided not to do it because it would have taken away from what I'm doing here on this platform.
I gotcha.
And I was just very confused to begin with, like, why me? You know what I mean? Like, that's interesting. And then, you know, it's like, but so yeah, I'm at a point in my life where I try to do everything very purposeful. Like, it has to be very purposeful, you know, or I just can't do it. I can't stomach it. Like, you know what I mean? Because I already don't sleep great every night. You know what I mean? So it's cool. I appreciate, you know, that you guys are that way too.
That is a good segue into going back to the Kava bar. We kind of digressed, but tell us more about like the Kava bar that you are opening.
Yeah.
So I recently purchased the you know, there's one partner that is staying on, but I recently purchased the first Kava bar that I went to. That was Ninth Island here in Vegas. You know, I was about to break ground and had already gotten permits pulled and plans approved to break ground at another location here in town. And I just reached out to Star and said, "Hey, look, I'm going to be opening a Kava bar here. I want to let you know that out of respect." And then anyways, that conversation kind of turned into, you know, a few weeks later, I was like fully invested into purchasing it. But one of the caveats to that is like, I can turn this around, you know, not necessarily turn it around because it wasn't like doing poorly, but I have to be the creative control here. Like, you know what I mean? I have to, like, you know, or else it's not, if there's going to be this tug of war, then I'm just going to continue with the plans that I have down the street, you know what I mean? Or around the corner or whatever. And so there's that. And so it's officially, you know, Wolves Den Kava. It's still going through that awkward rebranding. It's easier, what I found, to start something from scratch sometimes than to rebrand something, because you still got that, like, for instance, Groupon, like, canceled our account and then had to redo another one, and then the Groupon deals weren't working. You know what I mean? Because of this weird rebranding. But, you know, so it's Ninth Island Kava, and it's now officially on paper, until the signs get changed, which those are on order, is Wolves Den Kava, which is, you know, spelled, you know, WLVS Den Kava, because, I mean, why would I spell anything right, you know? But WLVS Den Kava. And then we have a pop-up bar, and we're waiting for final approval on plans in Palm Desert, California. It's just an awkward place. It's a really amazing location. We have a pop-up bar, for those that don't know what that is, because I realized recently no one knows what the hell that is. Pop-up bar it's a bar inside of a business. So, for instance, like, it's like if you go into like is there still Macy's? Like a Macy's, and you see the makeup counter there. That's there's like the Mac around. Makeup counter inside the Macy's. So, for instance, there's a friend of mine that started a business 7 years ago called Flat Black Art Supplies. He's now sober. He's a guy I paint with all the time, and he's been a good friend of mine for years. And you know, there's a location right next door to him, same suite, but suite A, suite B, that currently has a business in there. We haven't given them notice yet, but they know that it's happening, so it's not. You know, 'cause some of those guys actually watch this. As soon as we get our plans approved, we're going to start construction on that location in Palm Desert. It's in a really, really good area. It's on the mall. The mall's still a very busy mall there. It's in one of the better parts of town, Kim K and all them, like, shop right there, like like across the street and stuff. And it'll have a back patio area.
Kava.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And but it's kind of cool because how this place will have a back patio area, fire pit, heaters, misters. It's completely, it's gonna be a completely cool location. But I'm glad. I'm sort of glad that I thought that was going to be approved already and ready to go. But because the mall has different plans on what they're doing management wise and what they're doing like facelift wise, my plans are being held up there. But the pop-up bar itself is there right now. It's open 12 to 8 every day, and it's definitely more of a grab-and-go location. You can hang out there. There are art shows there every weekend. It's starting to build a nice audience there, but it is more of we're right next to World's Gym. So the people from the gym are becoming very familiar with our drinks and what we're doing there, And so I've actually even sent a few of those people that I've met at the gym to like your podcast, like, hey, check this out. And then like I've had a couple, like a girl the other day came in and was just like, man, I love the podcast. So I'm like talking about my podcast, like, oh, which episode, this and that. And they were like, they said something I remember, and I was like, oh, that's not my podcast. That's their podcast. I get you. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Because I was like, what the hell, are you listening to the right podcast? And so, but I have, so there's those plans, and then, there's a, like I thought it would be a little bit more finalized than it is right now, but it's pretty damn close. Is that there'll be a third location that we're already looking at, but that'll be in the Redlands, California area. So the Redlands, California area is not that. Redlands itself is not that well known. It's a smaller, I guess, suburb of San Bernardino. San Bernardino is like the hood. Redlands is like it's like upper to middle to upper income level, but there's a university right there.
Gotcha.
And that's where I started. Oddly enough, my cannabis business was started in Redlands as well. So we've been back and forth, and this landlord was just very on the fence about what we were doing. And the part of Redlands that's in is actually Redlands. It's kind of separated into Redlands and Yucaipa. Like there's just two areas. It's in Yucaipa, which is like high traffic, high bar area, high a lot of college students there, stuff like that. So I think that, again, to kind of introduce this to like the bar community as an alternative, the alcohol is going to be pretty cool, too.
Yeah, I think that sounds awesome. And I love that you're having the one next door to World's Gym. That's something that we've talked about, that we feel like that needs to, hopefully that's the future where, you have a gym and you have like a protein smoothie place next door. Well, maybe on the other side you can have like a kava bar. I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah, and I've met more and more people that don't know. They know what kratom is, especially in the fitness community.
Yeah. Yes,
they know what it is, but they don't know what kava is, and so now it's kind of cool. Yeah, exactly. So the theme of the bar here in Vegas will actually be, and it'll say it on the front of it, is start your day with coffee, end it with kava. Kind of thing. And so yeah, we definitely, and then we want to attract, honestly, like I'm not the and I love that world because we're having a sound bath pretty soon, even at the Kava Bar. I like that world, that very holistic world, but I'm not from that world. I'm from like I grew up, I was making music, and like I was, thrash metal bands, and like I was a music promoter for a long time and stuff. And so it's really hard for me to just completely switch lanes and say like, I'm going to dive straight into this. And I got to give them props and love. And they watch my episodes, is from the KAVA Collective in San Diego. Those dudes are badasses. I went down there thinking that I was going to be stuck in this whole world of just Polynesian themed bar. And Glenn down there is an old school punk guy. I go in there, the Padres game is on. There's like music playing in the back, like loud rock music. I meet Glenn, and I'm like, man, this is like so different. It's really busy. And then I'm like, those guys would be great to have a show. Those dudes are fucking wild. Those guys, they were kind of remind me of Black Clover Kava.
That's
you know what I mean? They kind of remind me of those guys. When I listened to that episode, I said, those guys have become really good friends of mine. And there's old school punk. They're like, dude, you're not Polynesian. Fucking open whatever you want. And I was like, ding, like, all right, cool. Like,
what's funny you mentioned that, man, and like, I don't know, man, like I don't care like what people do and stuff, and like if you live your life however you want to, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna hate on anything, but that is one thing you see a lot with like Kava and Kava bars, and I guess like sometimes where I might feel out of place because like I don't know, like I don't do tarot card readings, and I'm not like
not a vegan.
I'm not really big on like astrology and stuff like that. And like a lot of Kava bars like kind of bring in like kind of like those groups of people who are kind of into that stuff, and
Yeah.
which is cool,
great,
man.
Yeah, but we just kind of wanted to show that there's other people.
Hell yeah.
And again, like I'm not from that world, man. Like I'm a military dude. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and like a, a meathead and stuff. So like sometimes like when I go to those places, man, it's like, yeah, dude, like I don't really fit in with that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying, we're trying to bring it to like, the bodybuilding community, and I'm even trying to start, reaching out to the military community
Yep.
to give them an option, because like in the military, dude, like this is your option. And it's super frustrating too, man, because we just ended 20 years of combat. When you come back, man, from deployments and combat, and fucking TBIs and all that kind of shit, man, your options are alcohol, or you go to the VA and you get prescription pain pills, pain pills, man. And so for a lot of dudes, and I know a lot of dudes, man, who have PTSD and shit like that, who I know drink, and in the veteran community, I want to, hopefully KAVA even becomes something bigger. And actually KAVA, I forget what group just got the grant, but they actually just got funding research to use it for PTSD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
super excited.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I even think like the military community, man, which is a huge community, because we can't smoke weed, can't do psychedelics. The only option you have is alcohol, and it's so ingrained in the culture.
And it's so fucking poison.
You can't even do CBD. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
so
crazy to me.
in KAVA, KAVA sold as a dietary supplement, so it's legal. It's legal. Doesn't show up on the drug test. And it's an awesome option for people, or even think about like, first responders, people, or policemen, people who are like, drug tested, but also in the high stress jobs,
Yep.
like literally like, jobs like you might not come home that day because you might get fucking shot or killed, or you might not come back from a deployment, instead of alcohol, here's this, something else you can use, so like, I'm starting to get kind of passionate about that too. So not only bringing it to the fitness community, but I've started kind of looking at some like avenues where in the military, where like in the veteran community, can we use KAVA? Because that's a huge section, man.
I don't know why I didn't think about this before. There's a group in Vegas that's opening a store that will sell KAVA and kratom in it, and it's a store called Gone Not Forgotten, and it's about veteran suicide, PTSD, and veteran suicide.
Yeah.
And they're huge advocates. Like the owners of the places, they're actually part of the National Kratom Association.
Oh, awesome.
And things. And they're just, I just found this out. They're finally opening a store. They're a group, and I've been to a meeting of theirs. But they're opening a store, and they're basically at this point they're not planning on dropping any of their own products. That could change, but I reached out to them with the idea that like, look, I will stock your shelves. I don't need anything until it's sold, and then you'll get like at cost, basically. Nice, you know what I mean? To be able to do that, because it's crazy that so many veterans come home, they survive war and come home and die from something else like overdose or suicide.
And unfortunately, like the veteran community, man, is very prone to suicide. It runs rampant, even on active duty. Suicide numbers, have always they've been high, and sometimes they get kind of like covered up in a sense. And like I won't go too much speaking on behalf of that, but all I will say is that it's frustrating to see being in the community that like all people can turn to is alcohol.
Well, and I think it's frustrating that that's all they're allowed to turn to.
Yeah.
That is so wild. And if you were to find it, I say this almost every episode. If you were to find alcohol on Amazon right now, no one ever drank alcohol and find it, it'd be deemed poison.
Right. Yeah.
It'd
be deemed poison.
Same
man.
with coffee. Like,
They
it's
did
a drug.
they did that study, and again I've talked about this in episodes, is that they did a study at like, I want to say it was like Pepperdine, or I don't know, it was one of those colleges. And I wish I swear, because I was still drinking when I seen this study, so I didn't really care. They did a study where they tested this class. Tested all these different poisons, like it was rat poison, bunch of shit, and then they were looking at the properties of it to see how poison it was, and they got to a certain point where they were like, "Wow, what the hell is this? This is crazy!" And it was Scotch.
Gosh.
Well, it's
fucking crazy, like which
is wild, man. And like it goes on the whole other discussion of like, you know, why are certain things deemed normal and why are certain things celebrated, right? Like, why is it normal to go, you know, 21st birthday, everyone's like, oh, go get fucked up and all that kind of stuff, you know, and like it's like it's sort of like a cultural like rite of passage, right? Or it's encouraged, like, you know, any event you go to, alcohol, right? Or just like even like look at like the food, you know, like again, like it's not normal. It's, you know, you eat healthy, you know, you bring like meals with you, you know, stuff like that, which might be seen as like, you know, OCD. Like in some ways it can be like, especially like me with my diet, like I eat very, very,
but I don't
clean.
think it is, because, and that's what I think people don't understand, is what you eat is how you feel. If you eat like shit, you feel like shit.
Oh my God.
And so I don't want to feel like shit, so I'm gonna eat clean, and that it shouldn't be weird that that's a priority for me.
Yes, but no one bats and like, right? So someone will come, like just think about like normal life, man. Like someone will walk by with like a bag of McDonald's or something like that, and no one thinks twice about it, man. But then you see someone like, you know, who like brings like, you know, their Tupperware of like, you know,
Charles specifically, his bag of chicken,
and rice and stuff, and it's like, why are you doing that? That's weird. You know, like
I'm the weird guy like that. Not to that extent yet, probably, but I'm the weird guy because I get like I take like, you know what an IQ bar is? Like it's a protein bar that's like, in my opinion, it's like it makes me feel the best. And like when I researched, because I do that too, I research a lot of things I put in my body. I found that IQ bars, but I can only find them like on Amazon or I order directly through the company. But I eat these protein bars when like I'm at people's houses that doesn't have good food, and they're just like, dude, your life is so boring. Yeah. And I'm like, but why do you think it's normal to eat and want to go to sleep afterwards?
Yes,
like, you know, that should be fuel. Like, you know,
Charles brings meals all the time to friends' houses, but I'm like, who cares? Like, you know. At least he's going.
The thing is, like, dude, I want to feel good. Like when you eat something good, like, you know, like I mean, like, bro, I love pizza. I can slam a pizza.
I already know about this pizza story.
So you talked about being a regular at a KAVA bar, bro. I was a regular at a pizza place.
I remember
they knew my order when I came in,
I
man.
delivered my daughter, and like an hour later, great delivery, you know, very quick. Hour later, Charles goes home, gets our oldest daughter, wakes her up out of bed, puts her in the car so he can go get a pizza.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So like, I enjoy my cheat meals, but like I stopped doing cheat meals because, you know, in my cheat days, my cheat meals were pretty like, you know, I go pretty ham, dude. Like I could eat like an extra large pizza. I got a big appetite.
My brother has a picture on his Instagram from like maybe 2 years ago where he was on his cheat day on a Sunday. That's his cheat day where he had this giant pizza in his lap. And I was
but you know, but then like you feel so bad afterwards, and I don't know. We just found that like why choose not to feel good?
Well, and I think a lot of society doesn't understand how bad they feel, and that's what I say is I see people who eat fast food every day. I'm like, how can they eat that? But they're so used to it that they don't understand how bad it feels until they stop for a long time. And then they try and put it back in their diet. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And they get withdrawals from it, and then they try and put it back in, and they realize, oh, this.
I get headaches eating Reese's pieces, those little Reese's pieces.
Yeah, man.
There's some at the KAVA bar over here. And last week, then when I was out here, I was just randomly eating handfuls. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? So I ended up ordering a wrap like to get delivered because I was starting to get a headache and I couldn't figure out why. I'm like, what the hell's giving me a headache? It's the fucking Reese's. It's because that stuff's bad for you.
100%. And like, and I'll say something, man, that might be like a little controversial. But there's, we especially in America, man, we are a mental health crisis right now with the amount of, you know, drugs given for mental health, with the amount of people seeing mental health providers substantially gone up.
Especially in our children.
And I'm not saying that people don't have valid reasons, whether they might have had, you know, trauma in their life, PTSD. And so I'm not going to discount any of this, but a lot of people, if they stopped drinking, if they ate right, if they got outside and they exercised and they slept, got a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep, they would feel like a completely different person.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
next month.
And I work with clients who all the time, they'll be like, I was on antidepressants. I've been on so many different medicines for so long, and I've been consistent with my workouts for a month, and I've already been able to like lower my dosages, and I feel way better than that stuff ever made me feel. And I'm like, I know.
My wife is on a holistic thing right now. She was taking some stuff for her serotonin levels.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to take it anymore. She didn't want to take it. She not only was she gaining weight, even though she was eating right and working out,
Yeah.
because that you retain water taking those pills. She started going on more of a holistic diet. Not complete. She's not like a vegan or anything like that, but she went on it like she's being very careful about what she's putting in her body to help increase her serotonin levels and things like that, being more conscious about that, and then taking microdosing actually. And she's off of that. And her therapist that was prescribing her that is so confused because out of my wife just not trying to be a nice person, she's still talking, like still having these meetings with this lady.
Yeah.
And then she's that lady is so confused. She does not get it. She doesn't get it. She's like, so you're just completely off and you're still fine. I think she's expecting every week for my wife to get on there with, like my wife was saying, with her hair messed up and like the kids running in the background crazy and say, I need my pills again. Like, you know what I mean? Because she's just like, but yeah, she's not taking them and she's fine. Well, I don't know if she's fine, but she's good.
She's better.
She's better.
But it's crazy, man, because again, I'll say something else. I'll probably be controversial, but we do sick care in this country.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like and again, like we have amazing doctors. We have some of the best doctors in our country. People come here to go to school to be a doctor, right from other places. And modern medicine is. No one can argue that modern medicine isn't a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the medications we have now, some of the procedures, like we're in a completely different place. But to me, it's wild that even a lot of doctors can't even tell you what a good diet is, or seem confused when, again, people, and like Heidi has multiple clients that she's had who've been on these drugs and stuff like that, who just by diet and exercise are able to come off. And like,
Yep.
we don't always need pharma.
Yep.
To
Yeah,
hold
and
our
it's not
hand.
to say that we don't need it. It's just to say that there's so many other things that you can try first before you turn to that. And
That's in your control, not
Yes.
not I like to joke, even though it's far fetched. Well, I don't know these days, maybe not. Is that that if we had to go off the grid, like how would we support ourselves? And it's like you don't have that doctor writing scripts. You know what I mean? It's like like how could you support yourself? Like natural medicine that the earth gives you.
Well, think about, going back to like serotonin, right? You have SSRIs, which in different classes of them, and all that's to affect serotonin, right? And a lot of people don't know, serotonin's made in your gut. Most of it does, and there's a few. So we actually, we just talked about Kana on.
I haven't listened to it, but I've been looking forward to it because I bought it and I haven't used it until I listened to the episode.
But so like Kana, affects serotonin. And it's crazy because even some of these natural ingredients, you can see how well they work, because like a really good Kana extract will actually get your bowels moving again, because it's the serotonin will start, being produced in your gut, will move. So like, again, it shows that like there is natural stuff out there that has acute effects. St. John's wort, which is an herb that was traditionally used in Europe, and actually was prescribed in Europe at some points because it is comparable to an SSRI.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm also a person that kind of thinks that like it's kind of hard to argue, what the earth provides, and there's so many things that the earth provides for ailments that are effective. So if you have an ailment, there's probably something out there naturally you could try first.
Well,
Yeah.
when you think
If
about-
you believe in intelligent design, like you know what I mean, intelligent design, everything was put here on Earth to help us live.
for a
Yes,
reason,
yeah.
yeah. And most medicines come from plants and essential
do.
oils, and they're all derived from, this plant does this, well, let me tweak it, artificially, synthetically make it, and make it a drug.
Yeah.
And I think supplements and natural living and a lot of like herbs, they're starting to get more popular, right?
Yep.
I mean, you go on Amazon, and there's thousands of products you can get, and there's kind of more popular products out there that are coming out. Especially things like mushrooms now.
Yeah.
Not just the psychedelics, but Things like mud water and stuff. And some of these, mushrooms are super, super effective. And people are kind of realizing like, oh, hey, like, if I can't do caffeine or coffee, I can do like a mushroom blend that can kind of give me energy, So
I don't even know why I drink coffee anymore. I feel like the stuff I make in the morning, it's just, I feel like I need to wing my salt because I feel like my shot I take, stuff I make in the morning does more than the coffee, but I'm so used to going to the damn Keurig every morning now.
That's why when people talk about being addicted to things, coffee is the number one
it is
addictive drug. And you talk about, withdrawals and stuff, and like kava. People get so, kava, like they're so weary. And I'm like, there's no withdrawals from kava.
Yeah.
If I don't drink my coffee by 8 a.m., I have a splitting headache, because I'm addicted.
I'm telling you, it's dangerous.
Which with kava, there's no, like, so when you actually look at kava, it's not addictive, right? It's not to say that you can't, again, because I think you can get addicted to anything.
Oh, absolutely.
So like, if you, become physically dependent on kava, in the sense that like, every night, you want to relax and stuff, like, yes, you can, I guess, in theory, get somewhat addicted to it, but it has no addictive properties to it.
No.
It's not going to be, like some like caffeine. Which
you won't have withdrawal symptoms. Is what I like to say. Yeah.
And so I don't know, man, like I do think especially after COVID, we saw, I think people kind of saw their mortality.
Yep.
Right. And things that could affect them. And I think there has been a bit of like a introspective look at health.
Yeah.
Coming out of this, which I think is good.
There's a whole sober, curious movement, and it's a movement, with people that are now not drinking and looking for alternatives, like seeking them out, not just because they got a DUI or something and had to,
And I think part of it too is questioning what is always pushed on us, and it is always pushed on us that alcohol is the go-to. That's what's cool. That's what you need to be doing. And I think part of the sober movement is, I'm going to push back on that. And why do you want me to do this alcohol? Let me find other alternatives, which I think is great.
Absolutely. No, definitely. Well, I don't know how long we've went, but it's probably about an hour. It's been good conversation. It's like I like conversations that almost make me forget that it's being recorded. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's just good. Well, I mean, where can everyone find your podcast at? And
so you can find us on Instagram at KAVA_kettlebells, and then you can find our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
Just same thing, KAVA.
So I think
KAVA and kettlebells.
Okay, cool.
The best way to get in contact with us though is probably through Instagram.
Okay.
And actually, if you go to our Instagram, on the little links thing up there, we do have our website, so you can go through the website. We'll have all of our guests on there, all of our reviews for products, and we'll have the links to our Anchor website the podcast hosting, and from there you can go Spotify, Apple, there are spots you can listen to just from the link. But that's probably that's going to be the best way to get in contact with us.
Cool.
So by all means, like if you have questions on kava, create them. Some of these are botanicals that we're starting to look into. We're kind of starting to get more into like, Kana, things like that. Just because kava and kettlebells, yes, kava is their name, but we're trying to be all encompassing with sober alternatives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where things are going too. Definitely. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. Big time you flew all the way out here. I technically even flew in today. I wasn't supposed to be here. I don't know how the hell that happened. I'm like,
we made it happen.
I rescheduled my vacation just to schedule it on the same damn week that you guys are flying here. I'm like, what the hell? And everything was already booked. And like, I tried to move that, and they were like, the house was booked. I was like, never mind. I'm just flying into town. But
thank you for having us.
No, great guys.
Joe, we appreciate it, man. And I just want to say, I think what you're doing, with Red Wolves and Wolves Den, it's all encompassing, and I think it's really cool. I think the branding is cool, and I don't know, man. Maybe I might be biased because I'm talking to you right now, but I see a very bright future for what you're doing.
I appreciate that. This isn't going to be the last time we meet up for stuff, for sure. You guys are, whether you accidentally did it or purposely did it, you're part of the KAVA community. We're going to have you out for like some other cool stuff for sure. That would be really cool.
Look forward to it.
Well, everyone, the same way I end every episode is the way I'll end this episode, is that if you or anybody is struggling with any type of addiction or any type of mental issues or anything that you feel that, we can help you with. We have programs we've helped people get into, and then we're just here to talk, really. Is you can hit us up on our website, has all of our links to find us. It's Raised by Wolves, but spelt a little different. So it's RZDxWLVS.com. That's RZDxWLVS.com. You can find us on all of the socials under the same @ and most of the time I'm checking those messages, but I do have a person that's helping me check messages now. So if it's something that where you need to talk to me privately, depending on the nature of the conversation or the message, like I'll reach out to you directly if you leave a message for me to reach out to you. And thanks everybody for the views and the lessons. We just reached over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is crazy. My goal was to hit 100 subscribers by the end of this year. And so, so we really blew past that. It's been crazy, but there's been a ton of shares. Like we're getting shared like crazy right now. I don't even bother trying to repost them because it would just bore everybody with it, which is cool. You know what I mean? But great. Thanks everybody for the support, and reach out to us if you need us. Thank you.